let's take a look at some information and charts on Waves for Brave New Coin. So Waves is a 2016 ICO that raised 30,000 or nearly 30,000 BTC. I don't want to say that it's languished for 5 years and come into its own just recently, but price-wise, it has finally started to do something. I've never covered Waves for BNC before. It's difficult to find data for Waves, in my opinion, but I'll do my best here to give some grade A analysis. So the big thing for Waves recently has been riding the NFT DeFi dApp bandwagon, which there's nothing wrong with that. Good for them for sort of pivoting into other stuff. I don't know what they were before exactly. You know, their original vision in 2016 probably had nothing to do with DeFi. If I had to guess, now you can go back and read the white paper and find out, but good for them for moving into this type of use case. They have a DEX on chain now as well. That's older-ish, and that has also changed from waves.exchange to from waves.dex to waves.exchange. They have liquidity mining on another DEX, it looks like. So they've got some stuff going for them. They're not just doing a bunch of nothing like some of these other coins. So it makes sense if DeFi is hot that Waves price is up. At least that's my initial cursory rationale. And here's their website, waves.tech. So they've got the DEX, the DeFi stuff, Gravity, Neutrino, and some smart contract stuff as well. So they've got everything you'd want from a proof of stake network. That's what Waves is. It's a proof of stake network. And they talk about why. This is March 25th, so a fairly recent article. Check that out if you're interested in, why is DeFi a thing on Waves, or why is it useful versus Ethereum? A lot of it has to do with prices, transaction costs, that sort of thing. Here's their NFT play. Duck Hunters is a game of elements, loyalty program, blah, 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 NFTs. Okay. It's cool that they're experimenting with this stuff. It's not for me, but good for them. They're recognizing, okay, NFTs are a thing. Let's develop a CryptoKitties-esque type of NFT. If we look at some staking stats, looks like between 78 and 82% of the network is staking. Based on information from stakingrewards.com, it looks like the adjusted inflation reward is less than 1%. If we look at some transaction stats for Waves, transaction counts, I don't know why. Again, there's probably a reason why I've never covered Waves, but I don't know why transaction counts were way up in 2017 and 2018 relative to now. This could be a scaling thing, data aggregation. I'm not really sure, but transaction counts are way down compared to where they were. This was probably not real and or stress testing. I don't know. Point is, now they are way down, which is fine, but they are not increasing. I think that's the biggest issue. So we're seeing a lot of price appreciation and not a lot of transaction count increases across the board really since November. It's, I guess, subtly increased. You're seeing average transaction values increase here because of price, basically at all-time highs in average transaction values, whereas transaction counts haven't really gone anywhere. So it looks like a lot of the DEX or dApp or DeFi activity is fueling this average transaction value and token price rise. If we look at NVT and active addresses in the fill, again, they're not congruent with price rising here. They are divergent from price rising, if anything. You can see active addresses just falling off. So either Coinmetrics has the wrong data, which is unlikely, or I'm just interpreting this incorrectly. And if we zoom way out, there's a bunch of weird stuff going on in 2018 that, I don't know what that is. Point is, active addresses flat, not really rising. NVT has also been wildly ranging, sort of all over the place. So it's hard to take any of this data seriously to know what's even going on here. NVT is falling though, so that is bullish relative to the past few weeks. Overall, NVT is highly elevated compared to 2017, 2018. So it's hard to even know what to even comment on relative to NVT. But active addresses and transactions certainly not bullish relative to price. If we look at fees across the proof of stake coins where there is data, if we look at total fees per day, Waves since 2020, which I think is when that DEX started, is where they've had the highest fees on chain relative to all of their other proof of stake counterparts. You can see ADA, once it went proof of stake, or pure proof of stake, or decentralized proof of stake, whatever you want to call it, fees there also increased. But overall, Waves fees are several multiples above everything else, probably because of the DEX component, if I had to guess. Some liquidity mining stuff as well in there, as I already mentioned. If we look at the DEX, Waves.exchange, the UI is sleek and clean. It looks like Binance. I mean, it looks fine to me. I don't trade here, so I don't know what the liquidity is, but all of the pairs are denominated in Waves, which is smart on their part. At least the main pairs. There are other pairs. USDN, which I assume is a stablecoin on Neutrino, perhaps. But again, I don't know enough about any of this stuff. Like, I can't look at DEX metrics for this stuff relative to Ethereum. We can look at volumes, kind of, and get an idea of what's going on here. Let's go to ETH and just see what the volumes are like. So it's hard to really know relative to everything else. What is this volume compared to ETH DEXs, right? Because that's what you're going to want to look at. You're going to want to look at what are the like exchanges and DEXs and dApps doing relative to Waves. Doesn't make sense why the Waves price is mooning right now. So it's hard to interpret, but they have a DEX. It's doing stuff. It looks like it works. The UI is slick. I don't know what the liquidity is relative to everything else. Looks like the spreads on some of the pairs are reasonable. So at the very least, they have some groundwork for DeFi related things. They also have wavescap.com, which I don't really know exactly what it is. It looks like another type of DEX and or liquidity mining play. They have nodes that have payouts. Again, not clear exactly what this is, so maybe somebody in the comments can help illuminate me as to what's going on here. But my guess is this is part of why the Waves coin price has taken off. And if we look at the dApps, they do have dApps. Here's the USDN, Neutrino. Looks like they have pound sterling on Neutrino as well. And an AMM play called Swap or Swoop. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm going to guess it's Swap. So anyway, they have stuff and things very similar to Ethereum. So they're trying, right? And if we look for the TVL on Waves, they have a bot on Telegram. I'd much rather see a graph over time. Again, my complaint with some of these coins is we just need better data to look at what's going on here. So maybe there's a grand website. What I'm looking for is like a DeFi Pulse type website, right? Where it just shows me what is the TVL over time. That's what I want to see. So anyway, around 2 billion is locked into Waves, with most of that on Neutrino, probably in stable coins. That'd be my guess. So let's look at some technical analysis. 5200 cross here, VPVR, RSI, and some fun chart pattern stuff. So there was a bull cross in mid 2020 that told you on the USD pair anyway that this was a decent long play. Now historically these 5200 crosses haven't really held or led to strong bullish continuations other than 2017 post ICO stuff or 2017 alt season. Nevertheless, there has been a pretty strong bull trend from basically less than $1 to 34, $35. So 35x since 2020. Pretty good deal relative to what else is out there. Now it has been bumpy up and down price-wise on Bittrex. Something else to mention for Waves is it's not really traded in too many places. Binance, Bittrex, OKEx, no US exchanges that I can really find. That could be incorrect, but again, the data for Waves is just too spotty, especially for a 2016 coin. What I'd want from Waves is a rallying cry to get some transparent data on trading volumes, DEX volumes, dApp, DeFi stuff, that sort of thing. Just copy Ethereum. Whatever they're doing, just do it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just give me the data that's comparable to that and let me compare it to Ethereum or all the DeFi stuff. Anyway, so it had this bullish trend, rising wedge, and as I get made fun of a lot for in crypto, this rising wedge did break up. I can't ever trade rising wedges as bullish continuation patterns, but that's what happened so far. So I don't have too much to say as far as the current price action. It is at an all-time high. It is in price discovery. It is strongly uncorrelated to BTC, strongly correlated with some of this DeFi stuff, ETH in particular. It has very little VPVR support until 15, basically a 50% drop from here. It's far away from the 200-day moving average at this point. And there isn't really that strong of a case for a bearish divergence just yet. So what I'd be watching for here is a bullish divergence on any higher high. Eventually this will calm down and pull back, and then probably attempt a higher high. And at that point, you will probably see a bearish divergence on RSI telling you, okay, this is probably done. Probably needs to relax a bit. So right now this is just straight vertical relative to everything else in the market. So it's pretty interesting. As far as the cloud is concerned, again, since 2020, it on a daily close in March didn't actually draw down too far. Maybe because it didn't have too far to draw down, and or it's just not traded in too many places. But it did recover like everything else in late 2020. Had a series of long closes and re-entries on the cloud, all of which had been on the money as far as trend following. So the cloud is telling you as of March, late March, that this was a long re-entry. And it's tough with a coin that is just noisy price-wise because maybe there's poor liquidity, maybe it's not highly traded. You're going to see sort of messier signals on trend metrics like this. But all in all, I think the cloud has done well with this. And again, it's told you to be long, so you don't really have an excuse on the USD side of things. If we look at the BTC chart, it is all over the place. I don't really know what to say other than, again, you had this bullish 5,200 cross a few days ago, and it went up. I mean, there's really not much else to say. Here's the yearly pivots. It's hitting the R2. It's hitting sort of this VP VR resistance zone. Yeah, I mean, it's just uncorrelated with everything. So it's just kind of doing its own thing. This is going to have violent pullbacks more so than everything else. Volatility is going to be insane at the highs. It's going to, it's going to go all over the place, right? But ultimately, most of the volume since 2016 has been 31K sats. So there's plenty of support should this crumble down in some way. But right now it looks strong, and trend is on its side as far as being bullish. And if we compare this to ETH, it's equally a mess, just kind of all over the place. I mean, at least here, you can see shoulder, head, shoulder, neckline broke up. That was very clearly an inverted head and shoulders fractal. And then since 2019, it's just been completely insanely volatile on any given week. Nevertheless, you are getting a 5,200 cross on the bull side here, telling you that this has reasons to go higher based on trend. It's breaking above the potential VPVR zone. This is a made up pair on TradingView, so keep that in mind. But the yearly pivots look like R1's basically the previous local high, and then R2 is kind of the previous accumulation zone or distribution zone before that bear move breakdown. So overall, 2016 ICO finally doing things that the market cares about. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. Prices in all-time highs, uncorrelated with everything right now. They've got DEXs, they've got NFTs, they've got liquidity farming, they've got AMMs, they've got stable coins. They just don't have a lot of data that I can look at and point to and compare to everything else, at least that I was able to find. So if the Waves people are listening, definitely spin up some websites that just help people like me sort of explain the data and look at the data and give rationale behind why things are the way they are. And I'll also mention the ETH-BTC portfolio on Enzyme.finance, non-custodial portfolio management. You can deposit ETH or USDC, and it sits in a smart contract, allowing me to take long or short ETH-BTC trades relative to USD. You can see the AUM, the performance history, the trades, deposits, withdrawals, where I trade. This is all through DEXs, by the way. I pay the gas on all the trades. You don't. You just pay gas on coming in and coming out. We also have a DeFi fund. Again, same thing. You can see the AUM performance. This one we just started in April. Allocations, this is 15 to 20. Altcoins in the DeFi space that I think have a decent future and link up big today. So that's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and